Hello Podcats, Geoff Gascoigne here. Today I'm in South London, in Greenwich, home of the meantime, and I'm going to see a very old friend, Mr. Mark Lockheart, who's a terrific tenor saxophone player. I've known him for a very long time. We're going to have a little chat about the origination of loose tubes, playing in small and large ensembles, composition, all sorts of tasty stuff. So here we go.
The Quartet Jazz Standards podcast is brought to you by the Quartet app for iOS, taking your jazz play along to another level.
Mark Lockheart, hello.
Hello.
Thanks for having me around.
Nice to see you,
in
Geoff.
your lovely loft.
Yeah.
It's great how musicians have a little nook. This is where all the creative stuff goes on.
Yeah, it's kind of my happy place where I come up with ideas and got all my CDs there. I've got a load of vinyl downstairs in another room.
So can we start talking a bit about your background? How did you get started? What turned you on to jazz in the first place?
It was my dad who turned me on to jazz. He had a record collection and I can remember when I was 12 or 13 waking up to the sound of my dad's records.
Was he a musician?
No, he wasn't, but he'd always loved jazz and he wanted to be a drummer when he was a kid, but never did it. So he was always playing records.
What sort of records are you talking about?
When I was 10, we lived in America, and so my dad always wanted to learn the sax. He worked for IBM, so we all went as a family to upstate New York. And my dad bought a sax, he bought an alto, and started having lessons. It must have been 38 or something, 39. Maybe 40. So I kind of thought, oh, this is cool. And so I started to learn the same instrument. So my first teacher was an American wind band guy. And he joined a record club while we were out there. So every couple of weeks he got these records coming through the post.
I love that idea of a record club. That's
I know,
fantastic.
record. Yeah, it was brilliant. So I can vividly remember these records coming, and they were West Montgomery records, they were Paul Desmond records with Don Sebesky, late 60s things, And they were the first jazz records that I heard, were these records from this American record club.
Right.
And something happened and I just fell in love with the sound of these records.
Did you start taking lessons?
I had my first saxophone lessons when I was 11 with this American guy, and then we came back to England after a year of being in the States. My dad continued to play, and I played, got more and more into it, and I was in a band with my dad.
How cool was that?
With this guy who was into Jerry Mulligan, who wanted to arrange all the kind of sextet things. This guy had a band with my dad on tenor, me on alto. And that was it. That was my start, and that's the only thing I ever wanted to do, was to be a jazz musician.
And then did you study it? Did you go to college to study jazz?
Yeah, so I played a lot of gigs before I went to college, kind of function gigs and things like that, all on the south coast because I grew up in Portsmouth. Then I went and studied Trinity College in London, classical sax, because I wanted to be in London.
Presumably because there wasn't a jazz course, right?
There was only one, and that was in Leeds.
In Leeds, yeah.
And I didn't want to go to Leeds. Yeah. I knew that I wanted to be in London.
Yeah.
So I did classical sax, and it was kind of okay. It was a bit weird, the repertoire, There isn't a lot of classical sax repertoire that's really interesting, actually. And then I met key people. I met John Parricelli, I met Django Bates. We didn't have a bass player to play with, and Simon Purcell actually was there in a couple of years above me. He said, oh, there's a guy who works on the Northern Line who's a great bass player, and it was Mick Hutton.
I knew you were going to say Mick.
Yeah, so Mick came.
He works on the Northern Line.
I know. So Mick came over to Trinity, and we played. We got this band together, me, Simon.
Cool.
I got a drummer called Alan Rushton, who's still around, I think. So I was playing with Simon and Mick really early on.
Right.
And then I met John Parricelli, and we hooked up. And then I met Steve Berry. This was all before Loose Tubes.
So I was going to say, so this obviously led on to the formation of Loose Tubes, right?
Yeah.
All these guys, right. So this would have been like 80s, was it? Loose Tubes
early 80s.
Right.
I can't quite remember. I mean, I left college in 83. And so Loose Tubes must have been 84,
right,
or something like that.
So for people who don't know, Loose Tubes was it was like a collective, really, wasn't it? Everyone was writing for it, and everyone, like a big band, really, wasn't it?
It was a big band set up by Graham Collier
Right.
as a rehearsal band, and we started off by playing Graham's music, and then Django and Steve Berry brought some pieces in, and they were very different from Graham's music.
Yeah.
So, and it was obvious the band preferred that music, so Graham gradually got kind of ousted out, you know.
Right.
And then the band was taken over as a cooperative.
Yeah.
But the main writers were Django, Steve Berry, Eddie Parker, Chris Batchelor, really. I never wrote for it. I really regret not writing.
Right.
I was always a bit intimidated, I think.
Right.
The level of the writing, you know.
But you must have learned from being in that band, right? You learned a lot of skills that you could use yourself, right?
I learnt an awful lot, and soon after Loose Tubes started, I started my own band, you know. So it was filtering in, but I never quite had the confidence to write anything for it, you know, because the first piece Django brought was just, I remember it vividly, it was so incredible, you know, it was so formed and different from everything else, you know. It was his sound world that he had, you know.
Yeah. Did you have lessons in composition or in arranging or anything like that?
No, I'm completely self-taught, really. Right. I mean, I've studied a lot of scores and listened a lot. I think it's listening with me that, you know, I've never had jazz lessons. With hindsight, I'm quite glad I didn't go through jazz education, actually.
Yeah.
Because I think I've got an angle on it because I've had to find it out, you know, like the arranging thing. I mean, a lot of my writing comes out of improvising, you know, finding it out and then realising what the chord is, kind of thing, after I've done it, you know.
Because sometimes you can have rules, can't you? And then you just don't want to break the rules, sort of thing.
Exactly, and I think that can sometimes stifle creativity a little bit, you know. And for me, the inspiration, you think of the Beatles or Radiohead, you know, they write intuitively. They don't sit down with rules, you know, and that's why the music's so good, you know.
Yeah, I guess that's what Loose Tubes was about, right? I remember seeing Loose Tubes in the 80s at Ronnie's. I remember I'd never seen anything like it. It certainly wasn't swing jazz. It wasn't what I knew to be as jazz, you know. It was something completely different.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I think at that time the 80s in London was really interesting. There was a lot of South African music, you know, Dudu Potwana, people like that were all living in London because of apartheid. There was all that going on, and we were all really influenced by that.
Right.
And there seemed to be a lot of reggae. I remember doing horn sections with Chris, reggae horn sections.
Right.
And the trombonist in the band, John Harborne, you know, we'd go off and do reggae gigs.
Yeah.
So there was an awful lot of influences that were influencing the jazz at that time, you know.
Yeah. I remember there wasn't too much swing, actual swing.
There wasn't. It was kind of grooves or loose things. There were a couple of swing things, but they were kind of pastiche, actually.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. I mean, we used to listen to American jazz on the bus. That was what we were all into.
Yeah.
Ellington, Jarrett. I mean, I remember there were a couple of pivotal albums that came out that we were all obsessed by, and that was 80-81 with Dewey Redman and Brecker. And
quite a free album, actually, isn't it, that one?
Yeah, it's quite an unusual Pat record, but we all love that record.
Right.
My Song.
Keith Jarrett. Yeah.
All that band, we were obsessed with that record, you know.
Yeah.
There were kind of certain records like that.
Yeah.
Still Life Talking, actually, a bit later on, was really important.
Because then, of course, in the 90s, I remember there was a bit of a resurgence to swinging music, wasn't there? I remember Winton and Branford and all that sort of, very heavy kind of
some great
macho
records.
sort of swinging thing. Josh Redman and those kind of people came along. Did that have any influence on you at all?
Yeah, I mean, I've always listened to swing music, you know, but Paul Desmond was a really early influence, actually. I just loved the clarity of what he did.
Well, the clarity is the thing that, as you're learning as an improviser, is you want to try and absorb that information, don't you? And did you do transcribing?
I've never been a massive transcriber. I've done a bit of it. I transcribed quite a lot of Wayne, Joe Henderson, Stan Getz. Stan Getz, my dad had had Stan Getz Plays, which is an early 50s record. And I remember when I first heard him play Stella by Starlight, I wasn't aware of where the improvising started and where he'd finished playing the head, because it was so beautifully embellished from the beginning and so personalised. Yeah. And that was a massive thing for me. I thought, I love that way of playing. I want to play like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And whenever I listen to Getz, it kind of blows me away, really. So, yeah, all these influences. I mean, transcription is an interesting one because it's obviously important, but I think my transcription was done by playing along to records. In my front room at home with my mum cooking when I was a kid, I must have driven her bonkers. Because there were a few things that I literally played along to hundreds of times.
Wow.
There was a Phil Woods record that, because I played alto in those days.
Right, and copying some of the things you heard.
trying to copy Phil Woods, and there's loads of it I couldn't get near.
Yeah.
Because there's quite a lot of language in it.
Yeah.
Some of it I got, but I picked up on the feel and the sound and all these things that you pick up subconsciously by listening. So in a way, that was my transcription more than sitting down and writing out loads of stuff.
Where did the composition start? What were your early throws into composition?
So I started writing for this band I mentioned with Simon Purcell at Trinity. I wrote a few tunes for that. Those were my first tunes. But it didn't really take off until Perfect Houseplants, really, in the 90s.
Right, which was a quartet you led.
It was co-led with Hugh Warren.
Yeah, yeah. And Dudley
Phillips, and
on bass.
the three of us wrote.
Yeah.
And Martin France was on drums.
Yeah.
That was really important from a writing point of view. And also it was kind of my first statement as an artist
and
outside
band leader,
of outside of Loose Tubes.
Right.
And we were lucky to have a deal with Lynn Records, who paid for the records and gave us an advance. I mean, amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you think about it now.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of those records still. I mean, they sound slightly kind of wacky, but there's some great writing and playing on them. So that was important.
And then much later you progressed to a big band, didn't you? I know that record that you put out, the Days on Earth album, you did with an orchestra.
That's a lot later. That was only about 6 years ago.
Is that the biggest project you've done before?
Yeah. That was the biggest thing that I've undertaken.
Did you write everything for it and orchestrate it yourself?
Yeah, and it was the first time I'd written for strings, so I had to learn how to do that. But it was brilliant, and I booked British Grove and did it there. So
wow, what a thrill! Eh?
The sound is great.
How many strings did you have?
We had probably about 20 strings. Yeah, it was quite a healthy amount.
Nice noise.
But my first album under my own name was partly orchestral. It wasn't as big. It was 12 people, 12-piece band with people like Roland Sutherland, Henry Lowther's on it, Houseplants rhythm section. So that was important. That record, it was my first debut album under my own name, and it was a 12-piece band, which was a bit silly commercially.
In terms of a writer, though, expanding it from a quartet to 12 is a massive thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I learnt a lot actually with that band. And we had French horn in it. We had Jim Rattigan was in it, and trumpets, woodwind, and it's something I've always really been interested in orchestration.
So you've had a bit of experience playing in the sort of contemporary classical world as well. You worked with Mark Anthony Turnage a bit, didn't you?
Yeah, and I'm quite glad that I was classically trained in a way, in some ways, in terms of slotting into things.
Yeah.
I met Mark in Tunbridge Wells, because I lived in Tunbridge Wells for a bit, and we got to know each other, and we talked music, and we had he's got some brilliant stories about meeting Leonard Bernstein. And so he said one day, I'm writing this piece, do you want to play in it? I think it was called About Water, and it had John Patitucci was playing in it, and Gwilym. He'd written a sax concerto for Joe Lovano, and Joe Lovano couldn't do it, so he asked me to do it, which is very nice.
How much improvising was in that music?
There was a bit, actually, in the Joe Lovano thing. There was quite a bit.
Did his writing give space for improvising, or was it a lot of through composed? Yeah,
I mean, most of it's written, but there is an element, a healthy element of improvising. And then I was lucky enough to work with him 3 or 4 times more. We wrote an opera for the Opera House, and he scored it for 2 sopranos.
Wow.
So there was me and Martin Robertson getting roasted in the pit.
God.
And Pete Erskine was playing drums. It was a nice experience.
Amazing.
And again, I was influenced by his orchestration. I remember sitting in the pit at the Opera House making a note of all the bits that I really wanted to check out on the score.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I did later on. He sent me the score, and I was, that's how you write like that,
Yeah, just the voicings and things. And
voicings,
combining instruments and things like that.
Yeah, voicings and ranges of things.
Yeah.
The sweet spot of an instrument, which, I'm still learning a lot about.
Yeah. I did a similar thing actually when I started writing. I've written quite a few things for string quartets.
Have you?
And I studied a brilliant album by Elvis Costello. He made an album with the Brodsky Quartet, string quartet, which if you haven't heard it, it's just genius.
Right.
It's called the Juliet Letters, so it's all through composed string quartet and voice.
Oh, right.
And some of the sound that comes from the string quartet is just...
Yeah.
It sounds like an orchestra. It's incredible. Dull stops, all sorts of different flavours that strings can make. You know, I did exactly the same thing. I went through it and listened to it. Oh, that bit. How does he do that? I got the score, and extracting those little elements from a score is really important, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, with Houseplants, actually, the kind of crossover thing started because we worked with an early music group called the Orlando Consort. So we all wrote for that, you know, that was interesting. Even though it was voices, it was still really good training, you know, for me, using old modal plain chant and trying to make it into a jazz thing, you know. So all these experiences have been you know, massive learning curves for me.
Can we talk a little bit about standards, about jazz standards, and what part that's played on your development?
Ever since I can remember, I played standards. Interesting enough, I've never recorded standards yet, but I do intend to do the record at some point. I've never recorded standards I've done lots of records of my own. But,
wow.
And why is that? I think it's partly because I haven't felt like I've got much to offer in that, because there's so many great versions of things, you know. I mean, if I think of a tune like Green Dolphin Street, there's Rollins, there's loads of versions. There's all these versions that immediately, unless I've got a real angle on it.
Right.
But for me, I mean, just leaving aside, I haven't recorded anything yet of my own playing standards.
Until today.
It's always been my point of reference with everything in terms of me practicing improvising. So I sit up here and I play standards for hours.
That's so interesting, but you don't record them.
I don't really know what I do. I just make another version of something without having a concept. It's a bit like that. That's kind of what's stopping me.
Yeah.
But occasionally, I think, and Libby, my wife, says, "Oh, why don't you make a standards record?" Occasionally, I think, "Oh, I can hear something. Maybe I should."
You know what you should do? You should do like the Lee Konitz thing and write some contrafacts, write some
maybe
tunes on standard changes.
But I probably wouldn't want to do that because I love the original tune so much. So there's that.
Right.
But as a vehicle for practicing the way I improvise, standards are core to it.
Yeah.
And what I try and do, what I set out to do when I play around a sequence is I just want to play like me, you know.
Yeah.
I want to leave all the things that I've got behind, all the influences, because if I'm not careful, there's so many versions that I know intimately. It almost feels disrespectful to me to try and copy that, which is probably...
But you wouldn't consciously be copying it, though, would you?
I don't know.
Let's find out, shall we?
Well, I mean, you know, I don't know. It's a complicated, I have a complicated relationship with standards.
It is. That's just so interesting, yeah.
But when, like, we did a gig the other day, and I loved playing the standards we played, you know. Yeah. And people say, "Oh, you sound great on standards," you know. But I probably should just get over it and go in and record something with some nice musicians and bring something out, you know.
Well, the whole thing about bringing something out nowadays is you could have a Bandcamp page and you could record something here and put it out, couldn't you?
I know, it's totally...
You know, the whole concept of putting something out it's kind of lost its meaning in some respects, don't you think?
Yeah, I do. I think the industry's just like completely in a different place now. And I kind of worry about it really, how people are going to make creative music, you know.
Do you make actual physical CDs anymore?
I do. Yeah, and I'm about to do a new album, and I'm going to do vinyl as well. Right. But it's a big financial risk.
It is, yeah.
I mean, I've already spent, about 3,000 or 4,000 quid on this record, and it's only a trio. So I don't know.
It becomes a passion project, doesn't it? Rather than
it becomes a vanity project or a passion project. But that's what we do. That's what we do, and and often there's there's a kind of not a reward, but there's you get back your investment in a way from something. Mm-hmm. You know, either gigs or some award or something, or you know, or a situation that you wouldn't have got in without it.
Yeah.
So I've always seen it like long term, you know, investing in your own music and not expecting anything.
But you're a sideman as well. You do some other people's projects and do sessions and things like that.
Yeah. I do lots of different things. I mean, I do less sideman thing now.
I noticed you've got Keyed A gold disc from Radiohead.
They gave us that soon after it came out. So
300,000 copies, yeah.
Yeah, I think it sold a lot more now.
So nice. What did you do with them?
They just phoned up and they wanted some improvised horns on the national anthem, which is one of the tracks on it. There were about 8 of us and we went to their studio in Abingdon.
Nothing was written, it was just improvised.
It was improvised, yeah. Well, they had a kind of line, and Tom York wanted a kind of a Mingussy kind of feel, a kind of wild Mingussy feel.
It's on a loose big band or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we just played. They really liked the way it turned out, and we ended up doing gigs with them. We went to New York, Paris, and we played on one tune.
Wow. You went all the way to New York just to play on one
tune and do Saturday Night Live.
Wow, what a thrill.
It was, yeah. I mean, it's slightly frustrating that we were only on one tune.
Yeah.
But no, it was great. It was a kind of bit of a career highlight, that.
Yeah. Right, so I asked you to pick a standard to play today.
Yeah.
Because we're here to talk a little bit about my apps as well, which I think you're aware of.
What apps are those, Geoff?
Well, I've made some apps.
I've never heard of your apps.
Shut up. I made these apps, actually. Actually, we just recorded Volume 5 a couple of weeks ago. As we speak, which is in August 2025, we have 4 volumes. And I asked you to pick a standard. I know you love standards. We've just been speaking about that.
Yeah.
What did you pick?
I picked It Could Happen to You. That is one that I don't have that many reference points other than Chet Baker. I like the harmony and the way the tune kind of cadences. Mm-hmm. There seems to be lots of opportunities to cadence and resolve, and just the way it's put together. It kind of intrigues me, and it also never gets any easier. There's something about it that is always a challenge. The cadencing's kind of 2 bars. Interestingly enough, I can't think of that many versions offhand. I'm sure there are by saxophone players, but it's a great tune. Yeah, it's a great tune. So that's what I've chosen.
Fantastic. Here we go. No mistakes. That's great. Is there some things that you could demonstrate about the way some of the great sax players have influenced you?
Certainly things I've absorbed about certain players. You know,
Right.
A lot of it is articulation and feel.
Okay.
you know, if you've got a good feel, people are going to want to work with you. And the thing that attracted me to Joe Henderson was the feel, kind of articulation. And there's a blues on page 1. There's loads in it. So much in it. I transcribed it, and there's so much in it. And it's you know, he does the phrases like that kind of energy that he gets in a few notes. A point about him is, to me, he sounds like he's learnt bebop, but he's then gone and deconstructed it in his own way, and come out with his own language almost. There's so much bebop, it's kind of disguised because he's deconstructed it.
But you
all.
hear that with any of the masters, don't you? They have their own thing, you know.
Yeah, but there's one bit on that page 1 album on the blues, Home Stretch.
Yeah.
It's called Home Stretch. It's in C actually.
That one.
Something like that. And there's pentatonic-y things in it, and all kinds of things. But there's one bit where he just plays the diminished scale, and he starts it and teases it, and then plays a whole diminished scale. But it sounds so fantastic because it's so beautifully articulated. So he goes, and then he does the whole thing. And it's just great, you know.
Amazing.
I remember thinking that's really cool, you know.
So what about some of the other masters, like Sonny Rollins, for example? What have you got from Sonny in particular?
I think the kind of boldness of Sonny Rollins, the kind of experimentation of him is so amazing. I was listening to that Sonny Meets Hawk album the other day. His playing is so weird on it. But I think with him, it's all about rhythm and manipulating shapes, you know, motific things, you know, so fourthsy things maybe. I don't know. To me, he uses a lot of those things.
And triads, maybe. You know?
And triads.
Yeah.
And of course he plays licks, but there is kind of own licks, you know.
Are there other saxophone players that have inspired you and influenced you, do you think?
Oh, well, so many people. I mean, Brecker, I never tried to sound like Brecker, but I love Michael Brecker, you know, from a sound point of view.
We're going back to the 80-81 album, he's on there.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my favourite saxophone solos of all time on Every Day I Thank You. It's ridiculous saxophone playing.
Yeah.
Right up there, I think, with Coltrane, you know. I mean, Coltrane is a massive influence on me sound-wise. I remember when I started out on tenor, because I started on alto, when I changed to tenor, my sound was kind of weedy and closed at the top of the register, so it was a bit like this. That's exaggeration. It was a bit kind of and I just remember playing along to ballads a couple of days of just playing along to those tunes, and something happened in my throat, embouchure. All of a sudden I could play a little bit like the upper range of John Coltrane.
Right.
So instead of, it was like, that open thing.
Yeah.
The lesson for me, the really important lesson, was I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just imitating the sound.
Adjusting your breath control.
And throat and the muscles and relaxing.
Wow.
But no one could teach me how to do that. The only way I could do that was to imitate.
Listening
And copy it. I say that to people, you know, to students, if you want to discover something like that, imitation is the best way.
Right, so to finish off, I've got a few questions for you.
Oh,
Is that
yeah.
Yeah. First question is, what's your favourite album?
I did a thing recently for Jazzwise where they said, you know, what's the album that influenced you most? And I chose Atlantis, Wayne Shorter, because that was a pivotal album for writing for me. And playing, but particularly writing when I heard that in the 80s.
Now that was a quite electronic thing, that's 80s, lots of synths.
Yeah.
That's a very dense harmony.
Yeah, a really
that's the one with Endangered Species and the Three Marias on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, those great tracks.
I mean, it's not the best album, but something resonated. You know, I mean, Kind of Blue, I'm scared to listen to Kind of Blue because it's such a masterpiece.
It's a bit of a cliche for everyone to say that, but everyone does say that, don't they? Kind of Blue.
But then there's the individualism of Gil Evans that I think is right up there, which is a strange album with lots of crazy edits, and so there's so many records.
It's a hard one, isn't it?
Steely Dan, Asia, I think is an incredible album. I think there's some Stevie Wonder records, that October Road by James Taylor, there's just so many.
Is there a favourite musician, alive or dead, you would like to have played with or play with?
Yeah, Paul Simon.
Okay.
I'd love to play with Paul Simon.
Yeah.
That would be my dream gig.
Amazing.
Playing
Which period of Paul Simon are you particularly drawn to?
I think Still Crazy after all these years, and then right up to Graceland, and I mean, even the later records, there's something interesting. The one that Brian Eno produced, there's always something interesting in his music.
You may have already said this, but what would you consider the highlight of your career so far?
I don't know. There's things that I'm most proud of. I think Days on Earth, the orchestral record, I can listen to that without any cringing, really. Well, there's a bit of cringing, but that was such a big part of working towards something, and I invested so much in my creativity and things into that. In terms of gigs, so many highlights with Loose Tubes and Polar Bear, and
I mean, when you get to our age, we're kind of lucky that we're still doing it, really.
but you wake up and think, oh, this is good. This
is great. We're still here.
Still in the game.
Yeah. What was the last concert you attended?
I think it might have been the Vortex. Liam Noble. Oh God, I can't remember. I'd have to look in my diary. It's a bit of a busman's holiday, isn't it? Going to gigs sometimes.
That's fine. The Vortex is a great.
Oh no,
great
it was
venue.
the 606. I went to see Trish Close.
Okay.
Playing with Nicky Owls. That was about 2 weeks ago.
Excellent.
Oh yeah.
What would you say was your musical weakness?
My ears. I always want my ears to be better than they are. When I listen to someone like Keith Jarrett, I just realise that the connection is really fast between what he hears and what comes out on the instrument. And
I mean, he just has an endless flow of creativity, doesn't he? And not everyone has that, It's a hard thing to attain.
But I think it's the brain ear connection that it's not rapid with me, which it's not always a good thing to. People with perfect pitch, they struggle, don't they? It's not
sometimes
always.
Perfect pitch can be a bit of a curse, can't it? It's all right. It's great that you can hear everything, but
and the older I get, the more I realise that the things you can't do are as important as the things you can do in terms of what you do with music. Thelonious Monk, for instance, there's loads of things he couldn't do, but what he did do with what he could do was amazing, and I've kind of learnt that that's worth doing.
Do you ever get nervous on stage?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. When I'm out of my comfort zone, like I did a prom on Friday with an orchestra, and I had to really concentrate, and I was reading, and I was nervous. Yeah, it was all right in the end.
Did that affect your performance? Do you think, your nerves, or did it heighten your attention?
I think it does affect my performance sometimes if I'm not careful. But I've got better at coping with nerves, and I sometimes have memory AWOL moments, like we all do.
Yeah.
When you're doing things without music.
Yeah. But presumably that was all written, right? Were you soloing?
It was all written. It was more about following the conductor and coming in and playing in the right place and playing in the orchestra and all that. So yeah, I still get nervous, but not very much now.
What's your favourite sandwich?
Favourite sandwich is cheese and pickle.
Great.
I think cheese and pickle, can't beat cheese and pickle.
What about favourite movie?
Favourite movie? It would probably be a Coen Brothers film.
Okay.
One of those.
Black comedy? You like all that sort of Fargo and all that stuff?
Oh yeah. Yeah, brilliant, yeah.
Yeah.
Love all that.
Favourite venue to play in?
I like the QEH. I like that kind of size theatre. It's nice. I'd go for the QEH.
So your prom was at the Albert Hall, was it?
Prom's at the Albert Hall, yeah.
Yeah. That's a great place to play, isn't it?
Yeah, it is amazing, yeah.
What about favourite country? Do you travel a lot? Do you go to many places? You have
go to Ireland quite a lot.
Interesting.
Because of my wife. I like going there. I love Italy. Been to Italy recently, doing gigs, so that's always lovely going there. I love travelling, and I've got a real fondness for America because of that year that I had as a kid there. And I'm quite defensive in America. You know, people start slagging it off and saying everyone's a moron. You know, it's like it's a wonderful, wonderful country.
Did you see much of America? Have you been across it?
I've never been to the West. I've done quite a lot of things on the East Coast and Midwest. Chicago I know very well.
America's amazing though, isn't it? It's like 5 countries in one though, isn't it? It's ridiculous.
Depending on where you go, it's an amazing place. And, you know, the home of our music, so...
One last question. What's your favourite chord?
As soon as I left college, I was in this band with Steve Berry and with John Parricelli and Steve and the drummer. Right. And he used to write really complicated chords to me. I remember E over F was one of his things, you know, E/F. Right. And I still don't quite know what to do on that, but he would have to come over and write the scales in of the chords for me and John, you know. I didn't know what I was doing. Maybe John knew a bit better than I did. But but anyway, favourite chord, I don't think you can beat a minor 11, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's probably it.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Yeah.
It's so rich.
Have you played Kenny Wheeler's music much?
A bit, yeah.
Right, okay. Because he seems to have his own specific sort of language, doesn't he? Lots of raised 11ths and things.
Yeah, I love that music, but I think it's got a lot of challenges to be free on it. Very few people aren't. I think a lot of people can get in a kind of hamster wheel of just playing related scales, and I mean he doesn't. He seems to just sound amazing on it all. But I love his music. Yeah, I was lucky to work with him once. I only did one record with him. And that was towards the end of his life, and that was like a dream come true, you know, to do something with Kenny. But yeah, I love his music. It's very specific, the harmony.
Are you like that when you write your own music? How specific are you with your chord choices?
I try not to be, because for me, writing's all about counterpoint. It's all about the top and the bottom, bass, treble. And then I like to think what the chord is. So I don't worry. Often I don't worry about what kind of chord it is until I have the root and the top. And when I'm writing, I don't even know what it is until I work it out later. Oh, it's that chord.
So you're guided by the melody?
Guided by the melody and the root. And I try and teach that. I mean, it's just my personal method. I try and teach that at the Guildhall when I go and do my composition class, because they tend to clog things up very quickly with loads of rich harmony, and the problem with that is you can neglect the shape of the melody. And so when I was writing that orchestral music, that was really important to me. You know, I didn't get too bogged down in the harmony until I knew exactly what the top and the bottom were doing.
And then fill all the stuff out as you went.
Exactly.
Great. Well, Mark, thank you so much for having me round and for doing that. That was a great.
Oh, it's been a pleasure, Geoff.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
And the app's brilliant. And
thank you.
Good luck with it. And it's been lovely to chat.
Yeah, and catch up.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll see you very soon.
Yeah.
Bye for now. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for making it to the end of another podcast. Please subscribe if you want to hear more of them as they land. The Quartet Jazz Standards podcast is a UK music apps production. Quartet for iOS, taking your jazz play along to another level. Search for Quartet on the App Store or find out more at quartetapp.com.